Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the BingX Academy Series AMA. It's me, Aziz BD at BingX. Today, I'll have Andrew Wall, head of marketing from Illuvium.
Hey,
We've
thanks
been
for
dis-
having me.
Happy to have you. We've been discussing metaverses, play to earn, like many times. We had, discussion of this new trend and the technology behind it many times. But right now, we have someone who is inside the project, who's building the project, could give us more information about it and insight. And Andrew, it's a good pleasure to have you here. Thanks for making time. Let's start with telling us more about Illuvium.
Oh, of course. Yeah. So Illuvium is a AAA game studio developing games with crypto mechanics. And obviously, the big difference between crypto gaming studios is that players can literally, basically buy a piece, if you will, of the protocol, ILV token, and they can make critical decisions about the game, the direction of the studio, balance changes, propose new characters, you name it. And so Illuvium Game Studio is kind of flipping the industry on its head, where with legacy gaming, let's say you're a fan of Cyberpunk 2077. What you can do as a gamer there is buy their games, and then you can buy their stock, maybe, and
Right.
then that's it. Whereas with Illuvium, you could, any random Joe today could buy one ILV token if they wanted to. They could run for our council and they could literally fire me, propose a new character to be in the game, and propose a whole nother game for us to develop and completely control huge business and development decisions about what happens with Illuvium Game Studio. And so that's what's revolutionary about this new crypto gaming movement and Illuvium being a DAO is it's a power to the people type of game studio. Whereas in the past, it's a centralized entity with a board of directors all completely controlled by a small group of elites at the top. Now, control is decentralized to all of the stakeholders that are a part of the community. And that's what Illuvium is in a nutshell. Now, Illuvium Game Studio is developing multiple games, and we can talk about some of those in detail right now. Actually, we've got
Yep.
two games in development at the moment. So a lot of people think Illuvium is just one game. It's actually a game studio already developing multiple games.
Okay. And what are those? One of them is Illuvium, probably, the one which plays to earn, and the other one is.
Yeah, so the main Illuvium game that you're referring to is
Mhm.
our it's a hybrid game of open world exploration looter where you're basically in this futuristic fantastical sci-fi universe. In the open world portion, you're jumping around the world with jet boots, collecting resources, trying to capture alluvials. And then once you've kind of looted the particular map that you're on, you're then going to enter an instance. You go inside, and then combat happens in an auto battler. And so the auto
Mhm.
battler is, if you guys are familiar with team fight tactics, developed by Riot Games, basically it's a highly strategic kind of auto chess type of game where you put down your units on the board. They have various synergies. They can
Mhm.
counter the enemy team in certain ways. Some of them are melee, some of them are ranged, some of them have certain abilities. And you create your team composition to counter the enemy team's composition. You hit play, and then they battle each other to the death. And so
Mm.
the main Illuvium game, that's the game loop, is you go explore the open world, you collect everything, go into combat, battle your alluvials to the death, collect some sort of reward for that, depending on the mode that you're in, and then loop, loop, loop. So you're not just doing an open world experience and you're not just doing an auto battler experience. You have a lot of gameplay variety as you move through that loop. And that's our main game. The second game that we're developing right now is a companion game to the main game, and then it's called Illuvium Zero. And so it's a mobile and desktop game. We currently have demos of both of these that we're playing internally, and we've already released gameplay for both of these on our socials. People can go check it out now if you want to see the actual game. You don't have to imagine what it's like. And the Illuvium Zero mobile and companion game is a town builder game, similar to what you'd experience in like any number of mobile games today. But here's what's crazy about it. If you buy our land in our upcoming land sale, and you can buy multiple pieces of land. You literally plug those land NFTs that you bought into the mobile game, and then you're playing your land in a mobile game. You're dropping buildings, you're collecting resources, you're collecting elements, you're scanning for alluvial blueprints, where you're literally buying land NFTs, playing your NFT and developing and managing and upgrading your land in a town builder. You can choose to keep those resources you earn from land in Illuvium Zero, the game, for yourself, bring that over to the main game and use those resources to go collect stuff in the open world and do auto battler stuff like I was telling you. Or you can just take the resources you've earned in Illuvium Zero, the mobile and companion game, and sell them on the Illuvidex for ETH. So you could literally just buy an NFT, collect resources, and then sell it for ETH. So you can literally just click buttons and earn money. I'm going to take a drink.
Good. Right. So the main Illuvium, the gameplay is, what is it? Is it like an RPG? Is it like a multiplayer open battle arena?
Yeah, so the main game, Illuvium, the main Illuvium game, you can go take a look at the gameplay on our YouTube channel. We've done 2 1-hour live gameplay sessions of the auto battler portion, and we've done a number of individual gameplay clips. So you don't have to like just take my word for it. You can literally go see what it looks like right now. Long gameplay, us zooming in on the characters and what have you. And so the gameplay itself, you say ARPG. With multiplayer open battle arena, not exactly that. So I don't want to brand this as an RPG, really. The open world portion of the game is more of like an exploration experience. It's not going to be, some sort of like high-paced ultra action gameplay. It's going to be more about exploring the open world, thinking more like No Man's Sky, but maybe a little bit higher paced, where you're going around exploring the open world, collecting resources, and then entering combat outside of the open world. So you're not going to do combat in the open world. Now, you will have to aim a gun and shoot alluvials and then open up an instance to enter our auto battler, but the combat is going to be happening in the auto battler portion.
Right.
And so what's kind of cool about this, and it's kind of different, it's different than what anyone else has ever done before, is you kind of get this more kind of chill experience where you get to sit back, relax, kind of take in the views, take in this fantastical sci-fi world in the open world portion. Then you have to go hardcore focus, use all 5,000 of your IQ in the auto battler, because you're playing a game of chess against your opponent there. That's way more complicated than chess, right? It's like, thousands of times more complicated than just regular chess. And so with this gameplay loop, you kind of give your brain a bit of a relax in the open world, and then you have to go super focus in the auto battler. So it's unlike anything anyone's ever seen before. And think of it as like Pokemon for adults. All of our alluvials are very mature. They're very complex. They're all based on endangered species of real animals, with highly detailed, almost wild and fantastical features in the way that they're constructed. Because if you go, a lot of us played Pokemon as kids, or even now, I do with my kids. It is very juvenile. It's very simple, and it doesn't hit like it used to when you were 10. Illuvium hits like Pokemon used to when you were 10 to you as an adult. And so that's a big part of the appeal here, is a lot of the folks that love that Pokemon sort of vibe, but the game is kind of too juvenile for you now to really, really grab your interest. Illuvium is going to fill that need in the market for people that loved that feeling of it, discovering new Pokemon, discovering new alluvials, learning their abilities. Now you get these cool, mature, ultra detailed, insane, wild, fantastical looking Pokemon, if you will, that'll really capture your interest as a grown man or woman.
Well, you really, I like the way you tell about the project. It sounds, I want to jump right away into it, but we're waiting for the release, right?
So the next phase is the next phase is for us in terms of what we're rolling out. Private beta for the auto battler portion is going to be dropping like any second. Like, we just need the button to be pressed. So people can jump in and play the private beta who have registered. I forget the exact number. It's hundreds of thousands of registrations for the private beta already.
Yeah.
And people will be invited in waves to play there. And so that's already going to be happening. And then another way that people can participate as well is to, obviously they can join our community and stuff like that, but everybody's been asking us about our land sale. When can I buy the land that you can then play with the companion and mobile game? Land sale is coming up like very near term. I'm in the final stages of like rolling. We're any minute now. We're going to be rolling out the first part of our marketing campaign around land, and so that's something that people can participate in immediately and buy different tiers of land, and then obviously be able to after the land sale be able to play that mobile game to play the land, and then shortly after that, we're planning to move into private beta 2, where people will be able to test the overworld gameplay and be able to play that. And so in each phases of these betas, we're going to be giving people access to play the game. We are going to be allowing them to capture gameplay footage and share it. I'm even tossing around the idea of letting people be able to stream it. So as the game's being developed, tweaked, and finalized, people will be able to see and play the game themselves, all of which will culminate in an open beta where anybody on the entire internet can come in and just play the open beta after that. So it's just a rollout of nonstop ways that people can participate in Illuvium and just get in there right now.
That's cool. So the game, is it more like a play to earn or a game with in-app purchases? Like a freemium kind of game.
It's both. So let me talk about each game separately and talk about kind of how those mechanics will work, like free to play or play to earn. The term we're using is play and earn. We don't like play to earn because you don't. Anyway, so with the mobile game or in companion game Illuvium 0, if you buy land, so you don't even have to buy land to play it. We will allow people to have tier 0 land, which doesn't give you any money, if you will, or anything of like actual monetary value, but you can go play the mobile game and just enjoy the town builder game if you'd like. So it is free to play in that regard, just to let everybody know. But if you do buy our land, tier 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5 land, you plug that NFT into Illuvium 0, the companion game, and then when you're playing that game, you can accelerate the buildings being built, for example, or upgrades or various aspects of that mobile game with an in-app purchase. So that's something that there will be in-app purchases for, just like any other town builder game that you see out there, where you can wait for the building to get it built in a couple hours or whatever, or you can just pay to have it built now. And all of the proceeds from the in-app purchases of Illuvium 0 go to our treasury and are distributed back to ILV token stakers. So that might be kind of like wild and like unbelievable, but literally all of the proceeds of all transactions that happen on our Louvitars or our mobile game Illuvium 0 or our main game, etc., those proceeds go back to the treasury, get converted into ILV tokens and distributed back to stakers 100%. So there's no board of directors, there's no executives at the top, there's no elite shareholders at the top of Illuvium Game Studio collecting profits when people buy. ILV stakers get all of the profits from Illuvium games, which is wild. Nobody's ever done this before. And so that's the totally revolutionary concept. That's almost like too hard to believe. If you want to know how that works, we've got an entire talk about our tokenomics that shows you how all the dots are connected there. In the main Illuvium game, you will be able to make purchases on our Louvitars, which is our exchange, our official exchange, for things like fuel. And so you might be like, what is fuel? Why should I care about that? You're going to need fuel to play in the overworld where you're jumping around, you're looting, you're exploring, to be able to do that exploration and to unlock those instances. You can buy fuel on the Louvitars to do that. Or if you have land that I mentioned earlier, your land generates fuel for you if you want to have land. And so you have the option to either purchase fuel or to generate your own fuel on your own land, or both. And so also our main game will be free to play. And there will be tier 0 illuvials that you can catch in the game without having to pay any money. Let's just keep it simple like that. You don't have to pay any money. But
Yeah.
those tier 0 illuvials are not necessarily going to be super valuable, right? They're going to have some value, and maybe somebody else who's joining Illuvium down the road doesn't want to grind the first portion of the game, for example, to get the tier 0 illuvials to get their team going to get going. You could potentially sell those to someone else and make some money. But I'm not going to make any promises about Illuvium being this game where you can just sit down and play it for free and make a full-time living or make a significant amount of money just playing it for free. And the reason why we're not doing that is because when games distribute 10%, 20%, 30%, 40% or more of the total value of all their tokens for free to free-to-play players, all of the projects I've seen that have done that are just they're a burning airplane crashing to the ground right now in terms of their token price.
Yeah.
They can't pull out of it. And it's because they have built in inflation into their own token.
Yeah.
There's no such thing as free money. And I know that might insult people that might be like, but I want a free to play. You can free to play, but making money for free tanks real life economies, and it tanks digital economies in the exact same way. And I've seen a lot of high quality games out there that have like 30% free to play rewards as a part of their tokenomics. No matter how good the game is or how good their marketing is or how many players they have, the token is just crashing to the ground. And it's because they're giving away 30% of their token for free. So that, unfortunately, that's not real. That doesn't really work. And you've seen that with Axie Infinity as well with their SLP token. They give away so much for free that eventually it just breaks the economy. And so we have designed our tokenomics to where we don't inflate away the value of ILV token. We only give away a little bit for free to let you kind of get in there and to get something to get you going so you can try out the game and you can enjoy it. But then eventually you're going to have to put in some economic value into that economy if you want to get economic value out.
That's good. That's interesting. Now, going back to, those creatures that we have been talking about, they're called illuvials, right? And do they have their own, like a background, history? Each one has a bio, like species or clans or planets where they're from? Anything similar?
Absolutely. Yes. So each one is going to have incredibly detailed stats that are going to be available. They're going to have like backgrounds on the biology and what have you, and the lore behind them, and all of that will be pretty deep on each one. Now, a part of the story of the game is revealing what alluvials are, where they came from, and how they came to be. And I don't want to, I can't really speak in detail about that because I'll literally spoil like major elements of the game, the story of the game. But the answer is yes. They are going to have very detailed information that will be available about them, and you'll discover more about their origins and things as the story plays out. And that's going to be part of the fun of playing through Overworld and going through all these auto battlers. Is you're not just a machine collecting resources and killing. You're going to be able to find out more about the deep background and lore of the planet you're on and what the origin is of everything that you're experiencing.
That's great. And do these species, when you do the exploration and stuff, are they all, each species is a similar, or do they have like a male, female, or anything like that?
Yeah, so there's a lot of things that make them different. So first of all, they're all based on an endangered species of animal here on planet Earth, all of them. So their design is based on that. Then each alluvial is broken out and differentiated in many, many different ways. So there's stage 1, stage 2, and stage 3 of a line of alluvials, for example. The stage 1s are usually like a little cute baby looking one, if you will. Stage 2s are like an adolescent looking one. And then the stage 3s are big, mean, nasty looking ones that'll kill you. And so a lot of the alluvials have multi-stage it's not an evolution, just to be clear. This is not Pokemon where you don't evolve your stage 1 into stage 3 necessarily, but they're all a part of a line of alluvials. And then the other differentiators include their affinities. So their affinities can be anything from water, fire, earth, etc. And those will differentiate the alluvials. And then the higher stage alluvials have things that are called composite synergies. And so it's not just a simple water, fire, air, earth situation. Those affinities will come together and create an entirely new affinity. So, for example, if you had a fire plus water affinity on an alluvial and you put those together, that becomes steam. And steam is its own unique affinity. And so each of these affinities have their own unique effects, their own unique damage, their own unique counters and gameplay mechanics that you can use in combat that make them unique and make the gameplay incredibly deep. And then the last major element are classes. So not only do they have these affinities and these lines and stages, but they also have a class. So for example, our Bulwark class, which has like a shield icon next to it, those are the big tanky alluvials that can take a lot of damage, basically. Our Rogue class alluvials, at the beginning of combat, they boop to the enemy lines, back behind enemy lines, and then start backstabbing and attacking the back lines of the enemy team, etc. And so there are different classes, and based on your class, you get different bonuses and you get different gameplay mechanics. So when you put all of this together, there being different stages, there being different affinities, there being different classes, you get this incredibly deep combat and gameplay system that's going to take a lot of hours for people to master, and it's going to result in a highly competitive Illuvium scene. And highly deep gameplay analysis, min-maxing, and a meta, and all of that stuff you want from a game that's going to have longevity. And so Illuvium's built all that in. It's all baked into the cake right now. And if you're interested in hearing about some of those systems, we actually had our Giga Chad of game design, Aaron Warwick, who's put together all of this. He did a deep talk with me on our YouTube channel where he, from his own mouth, talks about these systems in detail so people can understand. If any of what I said to people here doesn't make sense, that totally makes sense. You need to hear what they're saying and then see it on the screen, and then you go, "Oh, that's what it means by that." That'll be helpful to answer that question.
We'll of course make sure to share that information with our audience and give a link to the YouTube video. So each has a unique, like a special attack and defense and attributes. But which one is the strongest one? Which one is the strongest alluvial? And can the weakest be upgraded to a certain level that he could, be unbeatable and beat everyone else?
Yeah. So in terms of what the strongest ones are, those are going to be the stage 3 alluvials exclusively, right? So any of the stage 3s will be the strongest ones in their particular area, let's call it. And so because the alluvials are so different, there is no alluvial that's like, let's say, just straight up more powerful than all the other ones. So for example, Ramfire, which is like Aaron's going to kill me for saying this. It looks like a fire dragon. Basically, he's a rogue alluvial. He doesn't want people to call it a dragon. It's like a rogue alluvial, and it boops to the back of the enemy lines, attacks the kind of weaker folks on the back, the weaker alluvials on the back lines, and then rains fire down on them to kill them. Probably one of the best, if not the best, rogues in the game, right? To kill the enemy back lines. All right. But then there's other alluvials like Axodon, let's say, for example, that might be one of the tankiest alluvials in the game that has a water shield and can do the front lines. So which one is more powerful than the other? They're not really, you can't say one is more powerful, right? Because one is just good at tanking, one is good at killing the back line, and the other one is terrible at tanking, and the other one's terrible at killing the back line. So it's all about how you want to counter the enemy team. And so the stage 3 alluvials are the strongest ones. So it's sort of like, if you think about it like regular chess, what's the most powerful piece on the board? The queen, right? The queen can do the most and it can move. So the queen is sort of like stage 3 alluvials in our game. But you can use the queen in different ways, right? And the queen is not always a piece in chess that you use just to kill the enemy team's pawns. It's not always a piece that you just purely play defensively with, let's say.
Yeah.
It's not always a piece that you're just protecting the king with. The queen can be used in multiple ways, and so therefore the queen is not the most powerful at just one thing.
Okay. So just to cover up, you have different illuvials. You upgrade into a certain level, level 3, and all you need to do, you have to build a team and a strategy, right? So it doesn't matter which species are, because each one has his own, like attacking and defending attributes, and it's up to player to how to use them, right? Because
You're
each
just
one is
trying to
unique.
counter, you're just trying to counter the enemy team. So
Mhm.
there is no team that's always the best, because it's
Yeah.
only about what the enemy team is. So let's say, for example, the enemy team is all fire, just to use a simple example.
Okay.
Let's say your best alluvials are, water. Then your water team is probably going to stomp their fire team because water counters fire,
Yeah.
right? So, but if you chose another affinity that is weak against fire, then you would get stomped because you chose the wrong affinity. So
Yeah.
there's no just like standard, it's this powerful and therefore it's always going to work type of thing. It's all about countering the enemy team. That is the most important thing about auto battler. And it's everything basically. And we have extra mechanics built into the game that reward you for countering the enemy team. Like it's called the hyper system and it's called going hyper. So if one of your alluvials effectively counters an enemy alluvial or enemy composition in a specific way, it gets highlighted and it goes hyper, and it does more damage and it has more resistance and it just goes berserk and starts like crushing the enemy team because it really effectively countered the enemy team in terms of its affinities and its classes. And so it's all about counters, counters, counters. And it's not about just like me push button and smash. You have to use your brain in our auto battler, because just like you'd have to use it in chess,
Yeah.
versus playing checkers, right? Checkers, you can just very kind of casually play checkers, and you don't have to use much brain power. In chess, you have to use all your brain power for every move, and the same thing is the case for our auto battler.
Yeah. Cool. Like the way you have developed, so there is no, like an ultimate creature, ultimate illuvial who will be, even if you don't, spend a lot of time in the open world, so you can find it. You know, there is a game which I would use as an example, MK3 Ultimate, Mortal Kombat.
Mhm.
When we were playing as a kid, whoever chooses Noob Saibot, that's it. The game is over. You know who's gonna win,
Right.
because he was the ultimate, the ultimate character. It was
Mhm.
really hard to beat him. But here, that's what I'm trying to to cover, to confront is it's a team play. It's an RPG, open world, you go around, but in the end, it's like a strategy.
Yeah.
That's the cool part.
In terms of balancing too, I think Aaron's talked about it a little bit publicly. But anyway, we're going to have AI that helps balance the game. So it's not just like
Mm,
humans making decisions on how to balance the game. And also, our council will be able to provide their input as well. Humans will be able to provide their input on balance. So we aren't going to
okay.
just be relying on eyeballing it and maybe putting some numbers in a spreadsheet and hoping it works out. We have
Okay.
very advanced ways of working on balance, because the auto battler portion of the game is so complex that we need
Mhm.
computers to help us understand what changes would need to be made if, let's say, one of the alluvials was too powerful. And like in our
Ah.
beta right now, some of the alluvials are more powerful than other alluvials because it hasn't been
Mhm.
balanced yet, right?
Yeah.
And so if you use like Seer right now or you use Scoriox, they're two fire alluvials.
Mhm.
They wreck people. It's disgusting, right? But then it gets patched and then now they're just, maybe underpowered. So we don't want to leave that entirely to human decisions. We want to obviously be very data focused to make sure the
Mhm.
balance is always as mathematically perfect as it can possibly be.
Fantastic. So you are actually running simulations of the battle, and then you do calculations to see, if there is any illegal who always has an edge over others.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's exactly
That,
how it works. So anyway, I don't want to get too deep on how it was developed, but when you input which alluvials you're going to place on the battle board and where
mhm.
they are, and the enemy team is already set, let's say for example, when you hit play, the game already knows who won.
Right.
But it just shows you on the screen how the battle goes, and you can see which alluvials are killing which and what have you. Like that calculation happens instantly by the computer, if you will.
Yeah.
And so because the game is built like that, we can run millions of simulations like that and plug
Hmm.
that into like machine learning, AI, and what have you. I don't know too much about the technology there. I'm just the marketing guy. To run millions of simulations to understand which ones are more powerful versus not quickly.
Yeah.
Whereas we don't have to have necessarily humans doing all of that testing, right? So it allows us to very quickly balance based on insane amounts of input, just because that's the way autobattler is designed.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool. And you have also Illuvitar, and
Mhm.
those are NFTs, right? What are the purposes of Louvitars in the game and in all of this, economy?
Yeah. So a Louvitar. So as I don't know if you've heard about these NFTs, but they're pretty popular. Um,
Yeah.
and everybody and everybody everybody's freaking out about the NFT projects that end up picking up steam, and people end up buying them, and then there's demand and low supply, and then the price goes up, right? So
Yeah.
that proved out the market for NFTs. Cool. So what Illuvium Game Studio does is we take an existing idea and then we just make it AAA premium and just way better than the existing ideas are. That's what we're doing with our games. So we're going to be
Okay.
the first AAA game to go to market in crypto gaming by far, by like 3 to 5 years, probably. Like, by the way, nobody else is even close to even showing gameplay of a AAA game in crypto gaming right now. We're the only ones that have done that. Um,
Correct.
all the other players are like maybe 3 to 5 years away. So we're
Yeah.
going to be going to market years, plural, before anyone else with a AAA game. So that's what we do. We take an existing idea, we make AAA, and we take it to market before everybody else. That's what we're doing with the Louvitars as well. So normal NFTs, let's say, like a Bored Ape or something, you buy the NFT. It's just one static image, if you will,
Yeah.
and then it can maybe have extra utility beyond that if they add extra utility, right?
Hmm.
We are building the most insane NFTs you could ever imagine. So not only is there a base layer portrait of an alluvial in Louvitars, you can then layer on top of it multiple accessory slots of extra NFTs on top of the base layer. And so what this means is that, like, let's say I was in a Louvitar base layer, just me. I'm a
Hmm.
human, I'm a form.
Okay.
Then there's a slot for eyewear, there's a slot for headwear, there's a slot for my skin, and there's a
Hmm.
slot for extra random stuff, backgrounds and what have you, on the base layer that can be slotted in on a layer on top of the base layer for your NFT.
Hmm.
Then there's also borders that can go around your Illuvitar. And there's extra things like badges, from our like things like balancer sale and what have you, stuff in the past that was there before me. So the
Hmm.
point is, people out there buy NFTs right now that are just like a picture.
Yeah.
Our Illuvitars, which are going to be your avatar in all Illuvium games moving forward, is a base layer plus slotted accessories on top of that that can be completely configured and customized into billions of combinations.
Hmm.
And then that creates your final Illuvitar. And so this takes NFTs to just a whole nother level, way beyond anything anyone else has even thought of doing at this point in this space.
Hmm.
And it's going to be incredibly cool to see what people put together. And so, just to provide a little bit more context, so you know, when you buy the base layer portraits, it's going to have all of the Genesis set alluvials there as an option. But depending on the rarity of what you get, you might get certain alluvials or you might get certain backgrounds. So like a common looking one will look normal, let's say, with a normal expression. But an ultra rare one might have a weird looking face. It might have like crazy holographic elements to it or gold elements to it, and it just looks wild, right? So there's going to be rarities in the base portraits, and then the accessories are also going to have rarity as well. And all of the accessories can be used on almost all of the base portraits. So let's say I bought some eyewear slot NFTs to put on top of my base portrait, and I wanted some crazy looking glasses. The common looking glasses might be blue, but the ultra rare ones will be like holographic, going like wow, like looking bananas, right?
Yeah.
So the point is, in our Genesis set sale of our Louvitars, you can choose to open certain boxes, is the word we're using right now, that have like a higher probability of getting commons up to the most rare. And then the same thing with accessories. You can open certain boxes that have a probability of getting the commons to the most rare when you open those. And then you assemble your final Illuvitar NFT for yourself.
Right.
So this is completely turning NFTs on its head and doing something at a whole nother level nobody else is even thinking about right now. And that's what we do. We take an existing idea and we just try to make it as premium as the technology will allow. And so Louvitars will be sold, the Genesis set. You can buy an infinite number of them during the sale. And then once the Genesis set sale is over, they will never be available ever again. And so imagine getting Genesis set Pokemon gear or cards when it was pocket monsters. That's what this is like for Illuvium. It's like getting it when it's pocket monsters, before it went big, before it became a thing. That's what buying Louvitars is now, basically with the Genesis set. So I'm really, really excited about it. And I think that the customizability of it is going to make it so that people can really express their personality, and people that like to spend a ton of money can also show off how much money they spent. And it's not just like, it's not a situation where I just happened to get lucky to be in on some project that blew up. In this case, you can purchase certain boxes of certain rarities, and you can choose to spend if you want to get the most rare stuff and keep opening boxes to get the most rare stuff. So it's not entirely random.
Okay.
I mean, it's random what you get in the boxes, but you can spend to get more rare things, if you know what I mean.
Right, yeah. But will they be somehow connected to Illuvials? If I customize my Illuvitar with, like the sunglasses and a ponytail, will my Illuvitar will look the same?
Yeah, so the Illuvitar is just your avatar in the games, but we are discussing, this is not a promise. We are discussing internally extra utility for the Louvitars beyond it being just your avatar. And ideas that people have suggested to us include staking your Louvitar for bonus yield somehow, with land maybe, or staking dashboards, stuff like that, or having it give you like exclusive access to certain things. That is not a promise, by the way. I don't want anybody clipping that and saying I promised it. These are just ideas that we're considering and taking in from the public in terms of extra utility with the Louvitars. But that's not a promise that we're making right now with the Louvitars, but it is something we're aware of and are working on. But so does this affect your in-game combat in some way or something like that? Or does it affect the way your alluvials look in the game? No, not right now. But in the future, maybe. I don't know. Once again, that's all completely up to our council. The council completely decides what happens with land, what happens with the Louvitars, and what happens with our games. They're in control. So if they want stuff like this and they approve stuff like this, then it will be so. So that's the best answer I can give to that question.
Okay. And for example, if I or any of our team members or our viewers have an idea on how to use Louvitars, where do we shoot our ideas to? To your Discord, Telegram?
Oh, 100% Discord right now. So just go to illuvium.io. Don't go to illuviums.com. or Illuvium. Lots of people try to pop up scam sites and we take them down.
Right.
Go to
Okay.
illuvium.io, then
Yeah.
click the Discord button on our official website, join on Discord, and there is an entire suggestions chat there on feature suggestions. We read all of those. And so that is the place to provide that input. And we discuss the best ideas internally. And a lot of the ideas that are suggested by the public obviously happen because this is a DAO.
Right.
This is a completely decentralized decision-making process. No one gets to unilaterally decide what happens. The people get to decide. And so, and I'm not just saying that because I know a lot of people are used to hearing that kind of nonsense from like EA and from Blizzard of like, we hear the community and we listen to your feedback. And in this case, we have to listen to the community. We have to listen to their feedback. Otherwise, the community can fire us. That's a huge difference, right? That's a huge difference. So yes, join our Discord server. 100% the best way to get in the conversation. Telegram as well. I'd say Discord number 1, Telegram number 2.
Cool. So if you guys have any ideas, shoot them over to the team.
Yeah.
And Discord or Telegram, whichever you prefer. But you know, I would take Discord. I'll take Discord now.
All right.
You know, thinking about when you said you brought out you know, EA and Blizzard, and there are some, you know, building many online games where it's not, you know, it's like a freemium type of games mostly. But you know, you've been playing and many of them, you know, in the progress of their launch and their development, they start building such things as unions. You know, these unions, you know, they have several different purposes for the game itself and for players, and they know how to monetize it. And these unions, they increase the conversion and then time spent in the game. So anything similar being discussed in Illuvium?
Yes, definitely. So we have a robust, it's not unions, but we have a robust guild partnerships program that we are working on right now. And we are actively engaged with and onboarding tons of guilds, big guilds from across the board. And we've been making tons of announcements about those, from English market to Spanish, Brazilian, Arabic, all over the world are interested in Illuvium. And for the most part, a lot of the existing guilds out there have been playing Axie Infinity because it was the game that they could harvest the most value from. But now that the SLP token is basically completely broken and they can't harvest a lot from that game, and Axie Infinity isn't very fun to play, is the feedback we've gotten from 100% of partners. They want to play a game that's actually fun and play a game that has a sustainable economy. And so a lot of guilds that exist out there already have guild infrastructure in Axie, are coming to us telling us, we want to play something that's fun, that has long-term potential. And Illuvium looks like the #1 title that's going to be coming out in the next 3 or plus years that actually looks promising for us to transition our resources from Axie over to Illuvium. And so a lot of guilds have formed just for Illuvium, and a lot of existing guilds out there are planning on using their existing infrastructure, their existing community, and then if they have an existing Axie guild system, then they're adding an Illuvium one on top. And so we're onboarding guilds nonstop. Jawad is the guy on our Discord. He's our guild growth manager. He's our partnerships manager. He's been managing all of those partnerships, bringing all those folks in, having all of those talks, and we're making sure that we are taking guilds very, very, very seriously because they have a lot of influence and they have a lot to offer, I think, different players. We are not officially running our own guilds as a DAO or anything like that. So if other people decide that they're going to create a guild and that they want to organize and then they want to come play Illuvium, then we'll onboard them and we'll help them and partner with them and support them. But as a game development studio, we're not doing a scholarships program or doing our own guilds or anything. Like our job is to great games, great products, and great experiences, and to take those to market. And then other people can decide whether they want to do guilds or they want to organize around what we're building. And so far, the interest has been infinite. Like we're having a hard time dealing with the amount of media, influencer, and guild inquiries that are coming in, it's just, it is quite overwhelming. I just literally just doubled the size of our marketing team in the past month, just because we have so much interest in Illuvium. It's been really difficult to deal with the amount of demand there is to partner with us. So
Wow.
that's the best answer I can give to that question.
Wow. Fantastic job. Great job. I saw on the website 3 different products, right? You've covered some of them. You covered Illuvium Zero, right? The Illuvium Arena, and then Illuvium Open World. Those are 3 different products. If you know, in briefly, if you could cover, all of these 3, and combine them into one, so that we could, like have an idea of all of this, like Illuvium, like universe, and how they interact with each other.
Got it. Okay, yeah. To just like paint the big picture of how all of these things work together.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So you've listed their Illuvium Zero, and Arena, and Open World. Got it. So let me just make it simple.
Mhm.
Yeah, there's like, I'm going to simplify and just say there are 3 pieces to the Illuvium pie you need to worry about, and then you can read our white paper and go deep on all the rest. But this is the simple version. So number 1, just where we're going to start here is there is land, and our land sale is coming up imminently. And with land, as I mentioned, you buy that NFT, you plug it into Illuvium Zero, the mobile game. And it's a companion. You can play it on desktop as well. So we're making it available on desktop. So I'm going to grab my phone for this explanation. You got Illuvium Zero game here. You're playing your land. You're doing your town builder on your land, and you're collecting fuel and elements. Got it? So that's piece number 1.
Yeah.
So with the fuel and the elements, those are required in all Illuvium games, not just the ones that we're launching right now. In all Illuvium games moving forward, that fuel is required to play the other games. So we now have so here's fuel over here. Then we now have Illuvium, the main game, over here. And so that fuel from land is coming over here into the main game. And in the main game, you use that fuel so you can go out into the open world. You can jump around, you can explore, you can collect resources, you can go, then go enter autobattler and battle and combat to get more alluvials, to upgrade your alluvials, to level them up, and to have that Illuvium main game experience here. And within that main game, there is player versus environment, PvE. There's player versus player, PvP, ranked. And we even have Leviathan mode, which is degenerate mode, where you can 1v1 someone and just bet ETH on it. If you want to do 1v1 peer-to-peer matches and just bet somebody ETH on whether you're going to win or not. It's completely decentralized. And so people are probably going to do that anyway. So that's a mode that we're Leviathan mode that's in the main game. PvE, PvP, exploration. That's the main game right now. So that's piece number 2. So just to review, you play in the town builder land game, collecting fuel. The fuel goes into the main game. You have to have fuel to play the main game to collect things that are worth money and resources. And then the third component we'll put up here near my head is the Illuvium DAO and the Illuvium Treasury. So whenever people play in the main game, all of the financial proceeds that occur in that main game and Illuvium Zero are then moving to the Treasury. And in the Treasury, it sits there for a little bit. Then we purchase ILV tokens with it, and we distribute those proceeds, all of the proceeds, back to ILV token holders with something that's called revenue distribution. And so you can think of that as like something kind of like profit sharing.
Yeah.
With old school companies or stocks. You can think of that as something like profit
Dividend
sharing.
payment?
What's that?
Dividend payment?
Like
Dividend
sort of
payment?
like a dividend payment, sort of like that. But in this case, all of it goes back, not some of it, all of it goes back to ILV stakers automatically on the blockchain. Full transparency. And so that's the basic outline of how this works. So you got land, you're collecting fuel. The fuel goes for you to play the main game. Transactions happen in both of our games, go to the Treasury, and then the Treasury pays all of the revenue distributions, the profit sharing or whatever dividends we'll call. I'm using air quotes because it's different than that because it's on the blockchain. Back to ILV stakers, and then whoop, 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 rinse and repeat. Just keep going and going and going and going and going. And so as Illuvium develops new games, we have our main game right now. Maybe we'll have game 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, you name it. The system still works the same. So this is just the basic infrastructure for us to expand as a game studio to make game after game after game after game in the Illuvium universe. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes total sense. I mean, there's another question which is coming up based on whatever you said. And how do you make money then? How are you able to run? You know, you said you have doubled your team and you need to pay them something. How do you monetize it?
So basically, we have investors that funded, and this is all in the white paper. And this is all on the website. It's fully transparent. It shows on the website like pre-seed investments and different seed and like round XYZ. And you can go look at those investments and see who invested and at what value and stuff like that. You can go see all of that. So that those investments provide operating capital for the game studio, the part that I work for as a core contributor, to operate basically. And also, you know, we have a treasury that is that the game development studio is associated with as well, that we can use for certain types of like operational tasks if the council approves it. So like a certain portion of the tokens are broken off into this treasury, right? So for example, one thing the co-founders have talked about quite a bit is how we want to throw the biggest esports tournament prize pool of all time. Well, how do we do that? Well, what we could do if the council approves it is we could take some ILV tokens from our treasury, break it off for this marketing and esports initiative, and then that's how that's funded, right? So we can take private investment I call it private. Everybody sees what it is. Like it's not like some shady figure pulling the strings. Like everybody sees what it is. And also we can use, you know, proceeds from the treasury as well, if the council approves it. That's a key thing everybody needs to know. There's not some CEO or CFO here that can just push a button and then the money goes somewhere. We have to have our council, which is democratically elected, approve any of these moves or how proceeds are being used or how any of the mechanics of our economy happen. Does that make sense? And so that's how it's funded. And so what's cool about it is it's not a DAO or it's not like a company that exists in an existing market, and we're dependent on like banks, and we're dependent on the stock market, or we're dependent on all of these other external things to operate. We are our own economy. We are essentially like our own government. We are like almost our own like sovereign nation, if you will, in this analogy, that's completely independent financially, governmentally, politically, in this sort of structure, this DAO structure that's created. And it's hard for people to wrap their heads around that it's so much different than just a game company making games and then making profits to pay their CEOs and dividends to shareholders. It's like its own self-contained digital economy. And it's going to take some years, I think, for people to really wrap their heads around how DAOs flip that whole system you're used to on its head.
Yeah, definitely. Going back to economy, and you said ILV token. What is the purpose of? I mean, you have already explained, but you know, just a few words. What is, you know, like the main purpose of ILV token and how it could be distributed? Besides staking, how it could be used within these ecosystem.
Got it. Yeah. So there's two different tokens essentially associated with Illuvium right now. So ILV is let's call it primary token. It's the governance token. So if you buy ILV, and it's available right now on like Binance, crypto.com, And you can do it on DeFi exchanges like Sushi Swap. So you can buy it on CeFi and DeFi if you want.
Okay.
If you buy the ILV token, then you can choose to do a couple things with it. So number one, you could just hold on to it in your wallet, and then that's it. That's option number one.
Yeah.
Option number two, you could choose to stake it in the main ILV pool, which is at staking.illuvium.io. And then if you stake it in the Illuvium protocol, you choose a period of time, similar to like any other staking that if your audience is familiar with this, and you choose a period of time, and the longer you choose to stake, probably the more ILV tokens you will get as yield.
Yeah.
The third option is to buy not only ILV token, but also ETH, combine those together into a liquidity token, and then participate in the ILV ETH liquidity pool.
Cool.
And that's hosted with Sushi Swap. And then that pool, if you choose to stake into that pool, then obviously the yield is significantly higher because there's significantly more risk in that pool. So those are the three things you can do just if you buy ILV, and you can choose to sit on it. You can choose to do core pool, or you can decide to participate in liquidity pool. So then why would you stake it? What use is it to you in Illuvium games, let's say? Or how can I actually use it other than it just being a token where a number go up, right? And so when you claim your rewards for staking, you can choose to claim either more ILV tokens if you want, or you can choose SILV2 tokens. So why would you want those other types of tokens? So those are used to do stuff in our games. Those are used to buy land. Those are used to buy Louvitars. Those are used to buy fuel. Those are used to buy stuff. It's sort of like the cash, if you will, of Illuvium universe is SILV2. So ILV is like, let's think of it as like the gold, if you will, reserve currency, if you will, if I'm going to use analogies of Illuvium universe. And then SILV2 is like the cash of Illuvium universe that you use to spend. And so you can choose which direction that you want to go. The big difference, of course, is that SILV2 gives you immediate liquidity. ILV token, those have to be locked up if you're staking them for a certain amount of time. So you can't, your liquidity options are limited there with that token. So you have to make your own financial decision on what makes sense for you. I don't know. I'm not a financial advisor, but that's how they work. And we did an entire tokenomics stream only going over this in detail with diagrams and the whole nine to break it down real simple for normies on the Illuvium YouTube channel, where we did our best to make it very, very simple, because this stuff is complicated, right? And DeFi is new for 95% of humans. So you really have to lay it out there for people, right? To really understand, because it's brand new.
Yeah, and thank you very much for doing it, because there are a lot of projects and there are a lot of cool projects, but the thing is, when you start reading tokenomics, it's such a huge huge set of documents, and you go through and you find yourself lost within what was it like 3 minutes before I was reading. It's very complicated for most of the users, and you see right now players who play, I consider myself as one of them, who play video games and stuff, and now there are 3A type of games coming in blockchain, and you want to jump in, but you need to learn about everything, about how tokenomics work, about how economics work, about what are the different like names. There are many who would ask, what is DEX, what is staking, why do I need it? And you said to many of the questions, like tech based, you said you have a video for it. That's a big round of applause for the team.
Thank you. Well, you guys are doing these video talks like this, right, on your channel to try to get it out there for people, because you know how it is, man. A lot of crypto degens and gamers and folks that are like the people that pick up tech early, and they don't want to read anything. They don't have time for that. They want to listen to it and they want to see it. I'm that way. I literally have a hard time reading at all,
Right.
actually. And so I actually learn most of the information I know about the world from podcasts and from YouTube videos right now.
Correct.
And so, yeah, you have to put it in every format.
Yeah.
That's part of my marketing strategy. We get out text content, audio content, live content, video content, image content. Give it to them in every format because everybody likes to learn differently. And I
Right.
think the social media has exposed that to all of us. If you go back 40 years, you're an idiot if you can't read, or if
Yeah.
you struggle to read or you don't take in an information properly 40 years ago through reading, then you're like you have a learning disability.
Yeah.
Well, what we've come to discover is that people learn in different ways, actually, and they
Of
might not
course.
have a learning disability. They might be a freaking genius. You just need to give them the information in the format they want.
Right. Right. Like there is a saying that if you read, you forget. If you watch, you memorize, and if you participate, you learn.
Ooh, I like that. Yeah.
It was a saying I was studying in school. Um, and of course, a video with explanations is a lot better because when you read text in any ways, you try to, in your head, you try to imagine,
Hmm.
put the dots together. But if you don't know what to imagine and how to put the dots, if you don't see those dots, then there is nothing to put together. So video helps a lot, and that's an amazing job you're doing. Any other updates we should be waiting for the nearest time from Illuvium?
All anybody needs to know is imminently private beta is coming out. Then very soon, land sale is dropping. Then right after that, Louvitars is dropping. So those are the three things to be aware of with Illuvium. And
Hmm.
so if you want to stay up to date with Illuvium and just stay on top of those announcements and understand the details, then you could just, depending on how you like to participate, you can either register on the website or join the Discord server. It depends on how deep you want to go. But those are the three big things that everybody needs to be aware of when it comes to Illuvium. And the thing I would encourage everybody to do, don't take my word for it. Like, I am the marketing guy. It is literally
Hmm.
my job to make this shit sound awesome. Don't just take my word for it. Literally just go look at the gameplay yourself. I've been recording raw gameplay. This isn't a gameplay trailer. This isn't in-game footage or anything
Hmm.
like that. Go literally look at the gameplay yourself and ask yourself this. Is there anything in crypto gaming that even comes close? Go look. Seriously, is there anything that even comes ballpark close that you have seen? Not they have promised it or they have talked about it. Can you see anything with your own eyes today that even comes close to what Illuvium is showing you right now in terms of gameplay? And then
No.
let the truth speak to you. If you look at it and you go, that looks like garbage, cool. Sounds good to me. But I think when you look at it, you might think, damn, that is years ahead of the competitors. In my opinion, it is. But you make your own decisions.
Correct. And before you said that's a piece of garbage, just think about how much effort was given to build this game on the blockchain. There are tons of EA Sports. Let's go back to EA Sports. I mean, look at like 4 or 5 last releases of FIFA.
Mm.
Um, what has been changed? The faces. And,
They hype up like new technology they developed for more realistic, gameplay systems and things. But it's just a cash cow for them, right? They make
yeah.
you buy the new version every year. They sell you microtransactions. And you know what? More power to EA to do that. Here's what I don't like about it though. And here's why I stopped playing altogether legacy games for the most part. And I'm
Hmm.
now kind of only doing these new games. Is like when you buy these microtransactions for FIFA
Hmm.
and you're collecting your team and everything, why can't you own that?
Yeah.
Like, why can't it be your property?
Why can't you own
People are
Cristiano
paying all
Ronaldo for
this
yourself?
money. Yeah, people are paying all this money to license a temporary access to players or
Right.
for content. if you paid all that money and then you literally owned those players, you own those cards, you own what you were buying in microtransactions, that would be a different story. Then you could take the value of FIFA 3 years ago, transfer some of that to FIFA today, and you wouldn't have lost all of that money, if you will, in the process. And then it would feel more equitable for players. Instead, it's just you dump money in and then you just light it on fire and then it's gone. And so that's the thing that really bothers me about legacy gaming and legacy banking and legacy finance systems is it doesn't allow gamers or players or anyone participating in anything to retain value unless they have it as their own property. And the simple way to put it is if you can't sell it, you don't own it. Can you sell anything you have in any of these games?
No.
For the most part, no. So you don't actually own it. And so that's what really bothers me about those systems.
Yeah, correct. And when you do that, when you build your team, it's only valid for 1 year, let's say. In a circulation of 1 year, there is another FIFA, and then it just start doing everything all over again, which is, I think it's unfair, but guys like you change things, so it's really glad, and thank you very much for the hard work you're doing. And there is one more thing I wanted to add, guys. If you want to stake or participate in Illuvium, you want to purchase ILV tokens, don't forget BingX has already listed ILV like long time ago, because we just love the project. Like I told you before, Andrew, we have like 3 or 4 team members who already subscribed, and they're sitting like this waiting to get access, and they start like me among them.
Merday was asking about it. He's like, why haven't you added ILV? There you go. It's already there.
It's already there. Yes.
That's awesome. Thank you so much for that.
The most welcome. Thank you for building this project. And can I jump into questions from the audience?
Hit me with it. I got more time.
Because oh my God, we have a lot. Do you want to pick, or do you want me to pick?
You pick what you want to bring up, and I'll answer whatever.
Fantastic. There's a lot. But let me pick some.
I see all you guys in chat.
Do you see any question that
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were going to pick a question and show it on the screen for me to answer. Sure. I mean,
I can, whichever you prefer.
Yeah, go ahead. Just pick any question, throw it up on the screen, and I'll answer it.
All right. I'll take this one first. From Bean Circle. What are the top priorities for Illuvium project this year, and what is stopping the project from achieving those priority milestones? And how does Illuvium overcome those obstacles?
Got it. Okay, got it. Yeah, so our top priorities for this year is to launch our main game. Like our number one priority is launching that freaking main game and getting all of the requisite items out. Thank you for the question, Ben Circle. Getting all of the requisite items out in order for that launch to occur. So what do I mean by that? So when you're building an entire economy, when you're building an entire government, if you will, or the governance, but if you will, and an entire set of technologies from scratch to be able to put all this together, you have to launch all of the requisites infrastructure in order to get a game out. We can't just use the existing legacy gaming systems and projects and software and infrastructure to get our game out, because we're doing it in a new way. And so that's the biggest challenge, to answer your question directly. So what do I mean by that? In order for us to get to where we're at today, you have to do things like create the white paper, do all the blockchain and protocol programming and getting all of that working correctly and getting that audited 10 zillion times by everybody on earth to make sure it's secure. You have to get your staking dashboard out so that investors can participate and they can get distributions. You need to get things like your land out so fuel can be generated and that aspect of your economy is going. Got to get things like Louvitars out so people can actually have avatars in your game to use. You got to get things like staking V2 out, which is what we just did, that allows for our liquidity tokens, SILV2, to actually be more secure and to function in the ways that people wanted with lower gas fees, et cetera, et cetera. So the point of bringing all this up is all of this is infrastructure stuff that we have to build the scaffolding and the foundation to then be able to put a game in there. You got to build the game launcher from scratch. You've got to do all this stuff from scratch. So that's the biggest challenge. And so what I'm doing as a marketing person is I'm showing the gameplay and I'm giving people access to the gameplay today, or as soon as possible. And I'm actually showing the gameplay today so they can see what the game is and experience the game as much as they can today, while simultaneously we're building all the infrastructure around it to put the game into. And so that's the actual challenge. And that's what makes it so hard to get to be like the pioneer in the space, taking stuff to market. We're going to be the first AAA game in this space ever. So other people can now copy our formula once we go to market, see what we did right and see what we did wrong, and then they can take those learnings and accelerate their progress. Well, we're doing all of this for the very first time ever. And so that's the biggest challenge, and that's what we're up against. And so this year, number one priority, number one focus, without question, is taking our main game to market. And obviously in the process, Illuvium 0, the companion game, will be taken to market along with that. And so all these launches I'm telling you about right now, the beta, the land sale, the Louvitars, the staking we just launched, is all stacking bricks up, putting the scaffolding up so we can get those games in there.
Right. Thank you very much, Bing Circle, and thank you very much, Andrew, for your answer. We're ready to jump to other question, which is from Tommy White. P2E games or blockchain-based games don't get much support from mainstream gamers. So what will Illuvium do to change that?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So there's a couple different things. So first of all, I agree with what you're saying. So right now, mainstream gamers aren't that hot on NFTs generally. They aren't that hot on crypto generally. And this is for a couple different reasons. Number one, 95% of humans on Earth don't have crypto or a wallet. 95% plus, right? So that's a big factor. Number two, legacy banking, legacy finance, politicians, lobbies release nonstop FUD about NFTs and about crypto, about how it's destroying planet Earth, how it's a scam, and insert FUD of the day here, which is scaring gamers into thinking that this new space is evil or bad or dangerous. And then number three, and this is the most important thing to remember, anytime there's a new technology or a new revolutionary change in gaming, historically, gamers hate it. They absolutely hate it. So let's rewind it back just a little bit. So when World of Warcraft went to market and they took the existing game of EverQuest and then they layered subscription model on top of that, they made people pay a monthly fee. Gamers hated it. Nobody remembers this because they weren't there. I was there. And people said, "Why are you making me pay a monthly subscription? I already bought World of Warcraft for $60. What a scam. I'm never playing this game ever." Yeah, never ever paid that monthly subscription for 10 years. Yeah. Wink. I got you, bro. Let's take a look at the next model that came to market, free to play. League of Legends didn't invent the MOBA genre. They already existed with Dota. But Riot Games just made a AAA version. And then they layered the free-to-play model on top of that and took that to market. Gamers hated it. Why won't you just let me buy the game for $60? Why are you nickel and diming me with microtransactions? I have to buy a skin for $9.99? And they hated it. Yeah, but guess what? You spent thousands of dollars on it. So wink, I hear you. Okay, well, let's take a look at more recent models. Look at the Battle Pass model. Okay. Epic Games saw PUBG, which isn't a AAA game, it's like a AA game. They
Yeah.
saw their AA game, they made a AAA version, Fortnite, and they layered the Battle Pass model on top of that. Well, what did gamers say? Well, when I add up this Battle Pass, if I had to buy each individual thing with V-Bucks, it's $300, and I'm never going to pay my money for that garbage game. Yeah, I hear you. Wink. $800, $900 later, you bought everything.
Yeah.
Mobile games was the exact same thing. When mobile games were coming out last decade, people said all mobile games are garbage at the beginning of last decade. All those microtransactions are evil. I'm never buying those loot boxes. Yeah, I hear you. Wink. That's why 60% of the gaming industry revenue is on mobile games now, right? You aren't paying them any money, are you? Yeah. So the same thing is the case with NFT and crypto gaming right now. It's the new business model. People are going to hate it, but then eventually all their money will show up because it's the new innovative thing and it's a superior business model to the previous business models. So you ask, well, what is Illuvium doing to get the mainstream gamers in? We're making the first AAA actual video game that's actually fun to play in this space. Everything that's out there right now is single A or AA indie game quality at best. And that's, I'm not insulting them. They just is.
Yeah.
And so we will be the first actual video game in crypto gaming. So when you see a real video game in crypto gaming, you're going to be more likely to be interested in participating rather than all of these indie games or like single A or AA experiences out there. And so that's a huge part of what we're going to be doing to bring more people in and to be the leader in the space and to open up the tent. But at the end of the day, the thing we're dependent on is that adoption curve of crypto wallets and DeFi, right? We can't make that go faster. That's this huge macro shift that's happening in the way that people exchange money on planet Earth.
Correct.
But that's going up and hockey sticking up. And as it hockey sticks up, we're the pioneer. We're years ahead of everybody else getting in there with a AAA game. And so we get to benefit the most as people get crypto wallets and they adopt DeFi.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Tommy White, for the question, and Andrew for your answer. A few more questions. Top 5 random epic stuff is asking, do you have built-in security plans in case a hack happens or ways in preventing it? After knowing the incident that happened last February, which totaled to around 1.7 million in NFT stolen.
Yeah, got it. So I'm not a security expert at all. But what I know is that with SILV2, with Illuvium, we redid all of our contracts or all of our protocol security measures in that rollout. And it was audited by multiple auditors. And that's going to continue to be the case moving forward, improving security every step of the way. And we actually just hired a head of security as well to double down on our security at Illuvium on multiple levels. And so I'm not as knowledgeable about that incident you're talking about, but what I will say is that like Illuvium wasn't hacked. What happened is that there was like a third-party external exchange or something, and there was an exploit happening on an external exchange outside of Illuvium DAO, and that's what you're referring to. And so we decided as a DAO, the co-founders decided that they were going to take money out of their own pocket and compensate people that got taken advantage of on a third-party exchange just to take care of the community. They didn't have to do that. And so they went ahead and they compensated those people out of like literally drained their own personal bank accounts to do that, to compensate those people that participated in an unofficial pool outside of Illuvium. So that's what happened with that. And so since then, those the exploit that particular hacker used to exploit that third-party exchange has obviously been shored up and has been audited by multiple of the most credible auditors in the crypto industry. If you want to know detailed stuff about security, I'm so not the person to talk to about that. So I really don't know much about that beyond that.
But Illuvium is secure, right? That's all we have to say. It wasn't hacked, and when there was something malicious about Illuvium, it was completely not related to Illuvium and the team, right? And still, your founders for for some I wouldn't say for some reason, just because to keep the trust and belief in the project, and
Yeah.
they probably didn't like that those who believed in the game and in the project felt bad, and they just compensated, which is fantastic.
That's basically it. They felt bad about it. And also, we did need to shore up the exploit that person used to exploit people on third party
Hmm.
platforms, right? And so we went ahead and did that. And so I don't know, like the co-founders
Well,
just like to make the right move right out the gate, go straight to taking ownership and responsibility, if you will, as much as you can, and just to shoring up a situation as quickly as possible so we can move forward. And that's what they
well,
did. And we've already moved forward. And as staking V2 has been released, people were able to connect their wallets and go claim their rewards, and everything's moving 100%. You can go check it out yourself on the site. Go, feel free. And feel free to join on Discord and ask people what their experience is like on it. Ask them, do they feel unsafe? Feel free. Don't listen to me. Just go ask people that are participating in it right now. Ask them, do you feel safe? Ask them.
yeah. And also add Illuvium to your top 5 random epic stuff whenever you're using it.
I want to be on all your top 5 lists. I want to be your surprise. I want to be your bonus item on every list.
Wow, fantastic. John Rister Puyon, can you give us 2 or 3 key points to convince investors to invest in Illuvium for the long term? What are the things that you have achieved so far, and what are Illuvium main goals in 2022?
Cool. So I'm the marketing guy, so I can, just keep that in mind, right? And I can't provide anyone with financial advice.
Yeah.
But if I were to make a pitch for Illuvium and why it's valuable, generally speaking, I would tell you that number one, Illuvium, like I mentioned earlier, this is point number one. Illuvium is the only game studio that has a AAA game that is playable and you can see gameplay right now.
Mhm.
So, period. And if you want to talk about, like, as an investor, you're thinking about, well, what's the moat around that? The moat, people like to wonder
Yeah.
with the technology. No one else has even announced a game that is AAA and will be going to market in years, plural years. That is the number one thing for people to remember. That's all you really need to know. So go take a look at our gameplay. Go sign up for the private beta. You go play yourself. And go take a look at competitors out there that are saying they're going to make something AAA or what have you. Guess what? There's almost none. Legacy gaming is going to be in here like 5 to 10 years from now. And there's like maybe one other game that is claiming to be AAA that, if you look at their own timeline, which is the most favorable scenario, right, that they could possibly deliver on, they won't even launch a game for years. So that's all you need to know. So if you think that crypto gaming is going to be big, if you think that people are going to want to own the things they earn in video games in the future, and you want to bet on the strongest horse that actually has a real video game, this is the only real video game that will be in this market, AAA game, for years. That's all you need to know.
Okay. And what are the goals in 2022?
Launch the games. That's like, it's all about, I'm telling you, launch the games. So we're doing private betas. We're doing then an open beta, and then we're going to do our launch.
Fantastic.
That's it. It's just roll. It's just like clockwork, just back to back to back to back, hitting these goals. It's all about getting the games in people's hand, showing people the games, letting them play the games, and then launching the games. That is the 2022 goal.
Yeah, fantastic. Carlos Nograles, where do you think Illuvium will be in 10 years from now? Do you have any plans to partner with big developing companies in the future?
Interesting. Man, this one's pretty tough to answer given how quickly, Illuvium is changing. let's say.
Mm-hmm.
But or not Illuvium is changing, but like how much the crypto gaming industry and like DeFi and like all of this depends on these giant macro factors, right? But I'll tell you what I think the vision of Illuvium is 10 years from now. And just, I am just one guy. I'm just the head of marketing. Not up to me. It's up to the council, actually. So here's what I think is going to happen. I think Illuvium's going to be like Riot Games was with free to play. I think Illuvium's going to be like what Blizzard was with subscription with World of Warcraft. I think Illuvium's going to be like what Epic Games was with Fortnite with Battle Royale. We are so early with a AAA game and a new revolutionary business model, and we're going to market so much earlier than everybody else. This is going to set the foundation for our game studio to be the premium game studio in our space.
Yeah.
So what does that mean 10 years from now? That means tens of millions, maybe 100 million plus players playing our games. That means multiple games launched. That means shows like Netflix shows, Disney Plus shows, things like that. That means physical merchandise and lifestyle items like cards, t-shirts, hats, where you have a physical item you buy that's Illuvium, you scan the QR code, and now you have an NFT. This is a full-blown entertainment intellectual property that has revenue streams across multiple avenues, physical, digital, and games, and it's a full-blown entertainment brand run by Illuvium Game Studio. That's what Illuvium is 10 years from now, and we're setting the foundation of that today, and we get to ride the wave of crypto adoption and of DeFi as that is the most disruptive and fastest growing and strongest technology horse of this decade. And Illuvium gets to be the leading intellectual property and game studio as that occurs. That's what I think it is. That's what I think is going to happen.
Okay. Thank you very much. So, in terms of partnership, no partnership with EA or anything.
Hey, I'll partner with EA if EA can get us more players, if EA is in some way beneficial to Illuvium, and if there's some kind of deal that is extremely beneficial to Illuvium, then absolutely I'll consider a partnership with EA, with CD Projekt Red, with Blizzard, all the legacy players. And you know what they're going to do? They're going to want to partner with people like Illuvium and organizations like Illuvium. They're already showing how desperate they are to follow us. They're already desperate. For example, look at the recent announcement where Epic Games announced that they're
in Lego.
Yeah, they said that they're investing $1 billion into Lego. Sony invested $1 billion into Epic Games, and all of them are branding those opportunities as metaverse.
Yeah.
Are you kidding me? Did you actually look and see what they've announced? None of it is metaverse. They are just using the term metaverse because they can't even do metaverse right now. They have no idea what that even is. There's no NFTs. There's no tokenomics. There's no digital property. There's no governance. There's nothing. They're just using the term metaverse.
The name.
Because the name of metaverse, because they can't even dream of creating something metaverse yet. They are 5 to 10 years away from being even able to enter this space.
Yeah.
And so it just shows how desperate they are to be like Illuvium is. When they make any investment that's made now, they say it's metaverse. But then if you look at what the actual investment is about, none of it is metaverse. Isn't that kind of sad?
It is. And you know what's more sad is that there are believers who believe that they actually do build the metaverse. And there is a hype in this word, right? Metaverse. There is a hype. It's a buzz. It's all around, and many people they think that metaverse is an online open world game, right? Because what we are building is you just walk in, run around, collect grapes or whatever, and fight or chill. sit by the sea or fish, and they think it's a metaverse. Whereas in the blockchain industry, where the metaverse was brought in, it was completely different, and it's actually our, I would say, responsibility right now to teach, to educate the people about what actually the metaverse is and how it's connected to blockchain, and uh, and it really does have advantages. It's not it. I'm pretty sure whatever they're building right now, it will be similar to a free to play or subscription based. Is actually you play it and you pay them. Like with microtransaction, with subscriptions, with whatever. But in blockchain space, it's actually the opposite. It's like a play to earn, and have fun and all the stuff.
Makes
My
sense.
personal idea.
I agree with you. So basically, it's not a good idea as a legacy gaming company to announce that you are making a MMO,
Hmm.
because 90% of MMOs fail. They go out of business, maybe more, maybe 95%. I don't know the numbers, but it's at least 90%. 9 out of 10 fail because World of Warcraft is so much better and Destiny is so much better. And there's a couple players out there that do that and are successful. And there's only room for a couple experiences like that right now,
Yeah.
MMOs. But they don't want to say they're doing MMO. Like the Lego announcement, they're saying it's metaverse. It's just a Lego MMO. That's all it is. And so they want to call it metaverse because they don't want to say they're making an MMO, because investors would be like, well, why are you making an MMO?
Right.
Almost every MMO fails.
Hmm.
And so it's just a way to like rebrand these sorts of investments into it being new technology or whatever, so that investors don't yell at them and so that they can get a quick moment in the press to promote this new investment. At the end of the day, it's just a regular MMO running on regular banking rails where you plug in your credit card, you buy stuff in the game, you don't own anything at all, and you're just playing a regular effing video game. Like, do you think they're going to allow children to own digital property? Do you really think they're going to do that?
No.
Absolutely not. Obviously not. So, no, it's just a bunch of baloney.
Right. Andrew, uh, I've I've taken 1.5 hours of your time, but it was really helpful. Thank you very much. And
I want
what
to
I would
answer Mereday's question really quick. He's
good.
asking, what is Illuvium built on 200 trillion times with the pray hands emoji? I will answer your question. So, Illuvium is built on Ethereum, but we use a layer 2 solution, Immutable X. So to save on gas, Immutable X is a wonderful partner of Illuvium. We're proud to be working with them, and so Immutable X is what's going to be used for all of these smaller transactions, if you will, around the
Hmm.
Illuvium universe and ecosystem, and in our games is what I'm referring to, so that you don't have to pay preposterous ETH gas fees whenever you're trying to do anything. It's all on IMX.
Hmm.
But obviously, all of that is built underpinned, of course, by Ethereum.
Okay. I think you asked Merde. Uh, was praying to get an answer for me. Um, should we wrap up? But really, I have tons of more questions. Um,
I can take one more
about
question and then I got to go.
no. I would suggest, should we make possibly another video later on? Invite you for another interview, because we need there are some questions which we would like to have answers about the land, about the how they interoperate with each other, about the open world, of course, and
Absolutely.
tokenomics. But right now, mm, you 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 shared a lot of time with us. You spared a lot of time, so really glad to have you, and thank you very much for making time. Thank you very much for answering all of these questions and giving us an understanding of what Illuvium actually is, what blockchain gaming is, and where it's heading to, and what actually and and thank you very much for explaining the in-game economics. because there are different types that are running around each game, like play to earn and something else, and you said Illuvium is the combination of both, which is really cool. And if there is anything else you would like to add before we wrap up, please go ahead.
All I want to say is thank you for your time. Thank you for your attention. And next time I'll actually show up on time for the live stream so your audience doesn't have to wait for it to start. So
Will you
thank
do
you so
that?
much for having me.
Will you do that? Will you show online?
No, I said I will show up on time is what I was saying. Because the stream started a few minutes late. It wasn't their fault. It was my fault for showing up late. But yes, in the future, when we are showing live gameplay, if that's what you're asking about, I'm happy to do that. If we could figure out a way to show that in a high quality way on a future stream, happy to go show the gameplay, to walk through it. I think the platform we're using, StreamYard, if it has an RTMP feed feature, I can actually stream it on my gaming computer over here, beam that over to you guys, and then I can actually show you stuff. So I'm definitely open to do that. And of course, I'll come back for another interview on time.
Thank you very much. Perfect. Thank you very much, Andre. Thank you guys for joining us today. We'll see you later on during our next interview. Don't forget to subscribe, and thanks for being here.
Adios.